This video is for entertainment purposes only. None of the information you are about to hear should be considered medical advice, and you should always consult a licensed medical practitioner before embarking on a health or lifestyle change. So this week we have Keto Mike with us from the Ketorific Journey with Mike. That's an interesting channel name for sure, but I'm sure we'll get into that. I guess I first ran into you probably through Tom when I
I believe that's right.
that's right. Probably through one of your live streams that you two do on a Wednesday night. So
that's probably is true.
Yeah. So since then I've been following your channel and watching what you do, and that's why I wanted to have you on here, because the aim of these videos is to bring as many different stories to YouTube as possible. It's just a conversation about our journeys and how they differ, and like I say, and I'm sure you agree that everyone's different. Everyone does different things. So
there's no one way to do it.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we start with, usually I like to start these with basically just getting some background on you and your journey with keto. And
all right. Well, I am 66 years old. I am retired. I'm not a full-time caregiver to my wife, but I do have to provide care to some degree because she is a type 1 diabetic and has Alzheimer's and now has a pacemaker. So, so I do that. And, but I retired. I was in law enforcement for 43 years. And I got into keto. I started keto on May 6th, 2018.
Okay.
And, basically it was because I was tired of folks being the butt of people's jokes. I was tired of, them saying, "Oh, he was a big fella. He was as big as you." And I'm like, when did I become the measuring stick for how big people are? So it was basically that, and because I knew it was going to provide health benefits to me, but I really didn't feel bad. And my cholesterol was a little high, but not real high. Blood pressure was okay. But now I couldn't ask for a better blood pressure or cholesterol or triglycerides. They're great now. They're where they weren't bad before. They're great now. But that's it. I'll be 5 years this May.
Yeah.
So, and we do it together. My wife and I do it together, and I have lost 110 pounds, give or take, according to fluctuation, a pound or two.
Sure.
And she's lost like 70 pounds.
Well, there you go. So you're both doing really good on it then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But do you find that, like you mentioned, and I guess ultimately I found the same thing before I started is, I had some issues, but I guess I didn't really feel bad.
Right.
But I didn't really know how bad I felt until, you actually change your diet.
Very true, because I do feel better. I do feel better. But it's hard to gauge better when you really didn't feel bad before. It's really hard to how much better I feel. Now, do I like looking in the mirror more? Yeah, I love that. But I got to tell you, folks, body dysmorphia is a real thing. I still can look in the mirror and see that fat man. And even though I know I'm not that man anymore. So
right. Yeah, 100%. It's you get, and I don't know what it was like with you, but when I first started, well, at least within the first year was when I got all the comments, especially from people I hadn't seen for a little while. Once you start changing your body, everyone, I got everything from, you look great, to people being like, "Oh, are you sick?" Like,
Yeah, yes,
so,
yeah.
uh,
Oh, here's what's the hilarious thing, and I swore I was gonna do a video for YouTube about it because it's amazing how often it has happened where I'll see a friend and they'll go, "Wow, you look great,"
mhm,
and I'll say, "Well, thank you," and they say, "How much weight have you lost?" I tell them, they say, "Well, how did you do it?" I said, "Well, I do keto."
yeah,
"Oh, no, you're not doing keto. That's bad for you." I said, "You
yeah,
just said I look great." And I'll
mhm,
tell them that. "Well, it's gonna kill you." I said, "You just said I look great," you know?
mhm, yeah,
You know? You know?
yeah. I don't, and that's, well, obviously, if you're doing this lifestyle long enough, and I just, you got to shake your head sometimes. Unfortunately, people have accepted some really bad information. You know,
Oh, yeah,
main,
they have.
mainly coming from sources that are invested in other programs that don't work.
Right. Or
Right? So,
have not researched it at all, and
mhm,
they just don't, they're just claiming what they think it because I'm an expert, I can do what I want and tell you what I want, and you're gonna take it for gospel.
mhm,
And there's
yeah,
several of them out there who have demonized this that unfairly. I mean,
yeah,
it's but, there's some justification that came because what was it, a couple of months ago that the American Diabetes Association came out and endorsed a low carb diet.
mhm,
They didn't go for keto. They didn't actually say keto, but they did go low carb. So that's a
yeah,
step. That's a step.
mhm,
So,
yeah, yeah. The head of the Canadian Diabetes Association is keto,
oh,
and
really?
they support it. Yeah, so things are changing. I think that's what it's going to take. Is it's going to take people that live it to make the change, because half the time people running these organizations have no idea what they're talking about. They're just a face in the organization that's taking money from other
Right.
companies, right? So,
Right. And I still remember when I went on Medicare, I started keto uh, because I knew that my daughter had done it and had success.
mhm,
It didn't stick because she didn't have support at home, and so she went back to eating the other way. Lost a lot of
mhm,
weight, and just couldn't keep it off because there was too many temptations in the house.
mhm,
And then I was going to one doctor that was part of a conglomeration of doctors. It was at Kaiser Permanente, which
mhm,
is a one-stop shop for docs, uh, and they he's my personal care primary care physician said, "Have you thought about keto?" I said,
mhm,
"Well, my daughter did it, and I have thought about it." He said, "I do it. There's 4 or 5 of us here in the building that do it. Give it a try. See what you think." And
right,
so I did. Now, then when I started Medicare, I went to another doctor because Kaiser didn't have a Medicare program through my
mhm,
employer, and so I went to him first time, and he says, "So," it was a doctor that I had gone to before. He said, "So I see you. Wow, you've lost 110 pounds." And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes,
mhm,
"Well, how did you do it?" And because he saw what my weight was when I used to go to him, and I said, "Well, I'm on the keto diet." He goes, "Well, it's not sustainable."
mhm,
Well, at the time, I was coming up on 4 years, and I said, "Really?" I said, "So in May, it'll be 4 years. When is this unsustainability supposed to kick in?"
mhm,
And he said he just he had the mask on because it was everything was going on, and you could see the big grin on his face when I said that underneath that mask, and he goes, "Okay, okay, you got me."
mhm, mhm, yeah. Yeah, and it's, the whole sustainability thing, I've heard that a million times too, but
I have too.
and to an extent, um, if you treat it like a deprivation diet, like you're depriving yourself of,
Hmm.
and technically you are, you're depriving yourself of all the addictive foods, basically.
Right.
It, I think sustainability comes more into play, for people that can't get over that initial hump of being fat adapted.
Right.
If they can't do the 6 to 8 weeks initially, till
They're
they
gonna
get
have problems. Yeah.
till they get to that point, that's where I think it can be like other diets where it's too mentally hard to do.
Right. I tell people you need to be strict on this at least for the first 2 months.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you've got to get into that mindset, that thinking, that way of thought, and all. After that point, if you want to add in a couple of keto treats, sometimes that's fine.
For
Just
sure.
don't go overboard with it. It's
Hmm.
gonna because I mean, junk food is junk food. It doesn't matter if it's keto or regular,
Hmm.
and it's empty calories. Well, it tastes really good. It's empty calories still, but even though calories are not as important on keto, and some people will argue that they're not important at all on keto. I'm not one of them. I do believe there is an importance to it, but it is a much less importance than any other
Hmm.
diet that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole, you know, calories don't matter thing. Personally, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. I actually feel better and do better when I eat more. If I eat in a surplus.
Right.
But I think most of the people that will tell you that calories aren't as important are fairly metabolically healthy.
Right.
Maybe not 100%, right? But
Right.
they have their metabolism's in a better position than a lot of people.
I agree. I agree. That's where and that's part of my thinking on that, and that you know, I don't worry about calories that much. I really
Hmm.
don't. I may say, well, I'm gonna get this because it is a lower amount of calories, but it'll serve the same purpose as this over here, and it'll
Hmm.
make me just as full as this over here.
Hmm.
Because I mean, let's face it, you eat the vegetables that you can eat on keto, you're gonna get full,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
so it's inevitable. So if you walk away from the table after eating keto and you're still hungry, it was your fault.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I've found, like, my personal journey in the last year or so, actually been I found that I'm not eating enough calories, even
And that
though,
right, and that's a
yeah,
very good, strong possibility. It can happen.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Like, even though it's not that I'm hungry. Like, I'm never hungry because when I eat enough that I feel full. Like, I don't, I'll make sure I eat
Right.
enough. But it's actually funny how, with me, I found maintaining and getting into a healthy eating rhythm was a lot harder than the first year when I was just doing whatever I did and I just lost weight. After you lose the weight, I find that's where, things really change and you have to be a little more
Yes.
conscious of what you're
Exactly.
doing.
Exactly. The closer you get to your goal weight, the more, yeah, the more conscious you're going to have to be of things.
Hmm.
When you're first starting out, if you've got, like I had, a lot of weight to lose,
Hmm.
it didn't have a whole lot of bearing on things to begin with. That,
Hmm.
but as you start getting down, it does have bearing on it. And when I say calories do matter, you may not be consuming enough calories, and if you're depriving yourself of food, then that's a problem.
Hmm.
If you're eating too much bacon and you're getting a lot of calories from the bacon and you're not getting it from other sources, then that could be a problem.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that chronic undereating can be just as much of a
Yes,
metabolic issue as chronic overeating. So,
exactly. Exactly. You
um,
you know you got to satiate the body in some way.
mhm,
And if you're full, Tom Garvey, he and Marie, they really eat one meal a day. Now
mhm,
they're not necessarily intermittent fasting, even though when you look at it, they are.
mhm,
They're he has a little window that he eats within, but it's not that he doesn't call it intermittent fasting. He says I don't get hungry till this point, and I may have a snack before we have supper,
mhm.
maybe some eggs or something like that, and and then I eat supper.
Sure.
And that's the thing. If you're going to do uh, intermittent fasting, which Tom is doing that, even though he's not calling it, it is the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. Uh, when you break that fast, it's important that you do it with some kind of protein,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can have and do it, a snack or something, and then do your meal a little later. That
Right.
right there will cover it for you right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the whole fasting uh, phenomenon in the last couple of years. It's taken off so much, and it's
Oh yeah.
it's all over the internet, and a lot of people are doing it. But I think, and even if you listen to, I don't know if you've ever listened to Rob Wolf, and he was the
I
one of
don't
the
know that name.
he was one of the pioneers of the paleo diet.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but years ago he put out a paper on fasting, and he's since looked at it again, and he's kind of regretting doing it because it's got to the point where people are, again, they're chronically fasting all the time but not feasting enough. They're not eating enough, because
Right.
you can get by, and fasting feels good. I do it
Yes.
almost every day too. I never eat
I,
anything in the morning. So,
Same here. I mean,
but
I don't do it every day, but it's pretty close to it.
yeah, but I think ultimately it has turned into something that it's one of these things where it's the old conundrum. A little bit's good, so a lot must be
Hmm.
better, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
there really is a point of diminishing returns when it comes to fasting. It's not,
Right.
it's not the only thing you should be doing. Like if you're doing alternate day fasting, which a lot of people do, and there's lots of benefits to it.
Hmm.
Like if you're not eating one day, well, you best be eating lots on the day that you're eating,
Right.
because then you're never going to, if you're not fueling yourself properly, then you're just setting yourself up for bad things to happen,
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
you're going to fail. You're going to
Yeah.
fail because
Yeah.
if you're going to fast, make sure when you do eat that you get enough that it's going to take care of
Hmm.
you for those other hours.
For sure.
'Cause
Yeah.
if you're just going to have some little small something and
Hmm.
not eat,
Hmm.
you're going to have problems,
Hmm.
and your
Absolutely.
body's going to reject it, and it's not going to like it.
Right. So what kind of, I was saying at the beginning, I followed your YouTube channel, so I see a lot of the cooking videos you do. What's your typically like go-to kind of meals for you and your wife?
Uh, a lot of times I like one pan cooking,
Hmm.
uh, or one pot cooking. Wintertime I really like to do soups,
Hmm.
uh, and probably to a point of excess. It's and I've probably put far too many videos of soups out there on the channel, but folks are probably going, "Oh Lord, Mike's doing another soup video." So, but I do. The one pot stuff is what I really like because it's a limited amount of cleanup. Uh, as much as possible, I like to do that, but it's not always possible. And when I try to limit how many dishes I'm using to prepare the dish,
Hmm.
because it's all about cleanup later. If you're going elaborate with your cooking, with how you're making your food, you're going to grow tired of doing this
Hmm.
because you don't have to be elaborate. You can be simple with how you do it and succeed.
Hmm.
You don't. Everybody thinks, and I did it. Oh Lordy, I did it. I thought I had to have all the keto stuff and I went out and I bought it, and yeah, it's a small fortune,
Hmm.
but you don't need it. Just shop the. There's Tom Garvey says there's no such thing as keto food.
Hmm.
It's we eat food, we eat whole food. And if you do that, you're good to go. But I try not to waste anything. So if I make something, I'll try to make enough to where we can have two meals out of it.
Hmm.
So and then it'll make life simpler with cooking later on in the week. And I try to change the meal that I
Right.
do. If it's like a meat meal, like I had for New Year's, we had a pot roast, and I turned that pot roast into a beef stew
Okay.
for the second meal. So it was still using that same thing that I made. I just redid it, and it was not hard.
Hmm.
So that's I like to repurpose the food to some kind of new dish when I do it, so that you're not saying, "Oh, we're gonna do that again."
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if we have spaghetti, I'll try to turn that spaghetti into like a pizza spaghetti bake,
Mm.
and it'll change the format of it. It's a baked dish, and it's got pepperoni and all this stuff on top of it, and it's cooked up
Hmm.
just like a pizza pan. You know,
Right.
so that's my go-to stuff, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds good. I probably should adopt more of a plan like that. Unfortunately, we get stuck in a rut too of, always having the same kind of things. And, for me personally, I could eat hamburger or wings every night, and it
Oh,
doesn't
I
bother,
could too.
doesn't bother
Yeah.
me whatsoever. But my wife,
Oh,
she prefers to have some variety. So I try and, mix things up and,
well, when my Falcons are playing on a Sunday, wings are my go-to meal.
hmm.
That's what I want. Uh,
Hmm.
Watching that football game and wings is the Falcons, not necessarily any other game. The Falcons, the
Yeah.
Falcons.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So the whole YouTube thing, when did you start your YouTube as a keto channel, or was it did you have
yes,
something
I
before
did.
that?
No, I
Yeah.
started it as a YouTube channel. I just I wanted to. I had been contemplating it for ever and a day,
Hmm.
and I just never got the courage up to do it. I thought, "Oh, I can't. I don't think I can do that. I really don't think I can. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to. It's not for me." And
Hmm.
then there was Matt Troyce. He has a channel, Matt Troyce, Keto and Wrestling. He's
Hmm.
a keto trainer. I had followed him. Matt's a good friend, and he was one of them that kind of helped me to get the confidence to do it. Alan, with
Hmm.
Alan's Awesome Keto World, he helped also with doing it. And those were the two biggest influences in giving me the confidence to do it. Both of them saying, "You ought to do it. I don't
Hmm.
know why you don't." And so I just I started out with I went on the internet and on YouTube, and I found videos that were um, other people's videos that were Creative Commons, and I said,
Hmm.
I'm gonna put these out here first, just so I can kind of get something on the channel and have a channel. And
Hmm.
then and as I did that, I would start to try to learn how to produce my own content. And then I got to where I wasn't putting any of those videos out there; it was all my stuff.
Hmm.
And then when I felt really good, I went back and I took all those Creative Commons stuff completely off the channel and deleted them,
Hmm.
because I'd never intended for them to stay on there. It was only for me to just kind of get some content out there to have people to look at until I could start putting my own stuff out there.
Sure.
And so I lost a lot of views, because I probably lost 3 or 4 thousand views,
Hmm.
but that was fine with me. I didn't mind that. I was okay with that, because it was, I didn't lose any subscribers. I just lost views, and
Hmm.
so the views, I gained them back with other stuff, because I started doing shorts, and that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole new world to try and learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole world changes all the time too. The way,
Oh yeah.
like I, I've got 250 videos on my channel now, and
Oh.
at least half of them are shorts, right?
Hmm.
So I've been playing with them since they first came available, and I've had some success with it. I built probably at least a third of my subscriber base is from shorts, but
They
I
are
don't know.
good at building subscriber base. You can
Hmm.
get a lot of subscribers from shorts.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
You're not gonna
But
get a lot of view hours, but it's
no, like unless you have one that actually takes off. Like
right,
I have
right.
one that's sitting at about 23,000 views, something
Oh
like that.
wow, I think the most I've ever gotten is like 8 or 9, maybe 10,000, something like that at
Yeah.
most. It may not even
Yeah.
be that much.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, and that's an exception for me too. Like most of mine are way less than that. So that's the only one I have that, really generated any watch time. But again, the watch time from them doesn't really matter anyways
right,
at this point. So,
right. Which I generally average about 1K, 2K, something like that, between 1 and 2K.
hmm.
Which I'm good with that because
Hmm.
it's what amazes me at how some folks you look, and while you don't get to count anymore on how many thumbs down you get.
Right.
You know, you go over in the studio and you can look at it and you see, and it would be I would put a video of my dog doing something funny,
Hmm.
and there would be I get like 100 likes and then 6 or 7 dislikes, and I'm like, what did you dislike about this?
No, I know. Yeah.
The dog was doing something funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the key to the shorts world is you have to forget all about that because
Right.
it's getting put in front of people that don't care about what you're doing, and they're just going to give it a thumbs down no matter what it is. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I've gotten a couple of mean comments on there, which it's, I can take a mean comment as long as it doesn't get personal or rude or
Hmm.
vulgar. You
Right.
start getting vulgar or rude or personal, you're
Hmm.
coming off and you're getting blocked. I'm not having that on there for everybody else to see, because
Right.
nobody wants to see your vulgarity or your rudeness. You being profane or whatever. It's
Hmm.
uh, I can handle it if you say, "Oh, this looks like crap." I
Yeah.
don't know why you would make anything like this. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care about that. That don't bother
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
But when you start saying, "Oh, uh, you look terrible. I don't know why you did this diet, and
Hmm.
you need to seek help. You're
Yeah.
demented," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're gone."
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
person. That's a personal attack.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think thankfully we don't have a ton of it in this community.
I don't have much of it. I very
Yeah.
rarely get one anymore. When I first started, I was getting more of them,
Hmm.
but I don't get them anymore much.
Yeah. So, you know, I guess it's all relative too. Like your channel's up over 800 subscribers now.
Right.
Um, I'm just over 600. So I guess neither of us are in the realm of,
No, no,
attracting ugly people too much yet.
no,
So
no. We're not in the world of serious keto yet,
yeah,
or highfalutin low carb.
yeah, yeah. We'll get there eventually, but
Oh yeah,
yeah, you're
or the
right.
keto. Yeah, the keto twins too. They're up. They're like over 100,000 now.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, no, it's good that I think more people are getting on here. Like yourself, and you got like semi-retired Bob and Tom and Ron and Alan, and like this community of keto creators, I think is
Oh
I didn't know
yeah,
half of the people that I'm talking to these days, because I sort of kept in my lane with, I was hanging out with Two Crazy Ketos and Ken Berry and that. But then once I wanted to start getting sort of serious about YouTube, I started trying to network with people like yourself and Tom,
right.
and getting out
I,
there and meeting new
right.
creators.
And I love both of those channels you mentioned Two Crazy Ketos and Dr. Berry. They're
Hmm.
great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I've been following Joe and Rachel since basically they started their YouTube channel. Like I was the first person that joined their Facebook group, and I've
They've
been.
got a lot of knowledge.
They do. Yeah. Yeah. They've put a lot of work into into building that base and, learning as they go. And Joe has been he's been getting certifications, like nutrition certifications lately
Oh,
too.
wow.
So he's
Wow.
improving his knowledge quite a bit.
I
So
didn't know he was doing that.
yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah. So
Because,
it's definitely one of the channels. Like if someone's new to it and they want somewhere that's really inviting and got lots of knowledge, that's pretty much usually where I send them first. So
right. And then they're a good source to do that with.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
because
they're going to
like
get some great information from them.
yeah, yeah, because like you can go to people like Dr. Barry, and I love supporting him too, but sometimes the knowledge gets a little overwhelming, I find.
Yeah. He doctorizes it a little bit
Mhm. Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
But hey, the man is a doctor and he is very knowledgeable on it. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. But I think, and I don't know what you feel about it. Like if someone asks you for, advice and where to start, do you send them to specific channels, or do you try and help them directly, or
I do both. I
yeah.
do both. There is another channel that I send them to, and I tell them that this channel has a lot of PDFs that are in there. Uh, you can go to their website and you'll see these PDFs, and you can download these PDFs, and they're free. That
Hmm.
will give you information on keto and things like that, and it's straight stuff, and that's rule
Okay.
rule
Hmm.
me. I think rule me. I forget,
Yeah.
but they've got some good stuff. They've got recipes. And uh, I haven't seen anything from them in a long time.
Hmm.
But that,
Yeah. I think
yeah,
I checked that out when I was first starting too.
right, and that's I did so much research. It is unbelievable how much research I put into it, and I can see you say you're like me. I want to
Hmm.
know everything I could about this,
Hmm.
and I found it. And you got to be diligent, and I wanted to show people that I didn't want them to have to go and do all the searching I did. I wanted to tell them where they're going to get the straight information,
Hmm.
because you're going to get a lot of bogus stuff, and you're going to get a lot of things that people are trying to sell you things,
Hmm.
and that's the whole reason behind their channel or
Hmm.
behind what their information is. Now,
Hmm.
I have a couple of things on my channel where you can get meal plans. Some people need something to guide them with. These are proven places you can get meal plans, and they're Jim Dandy meal plans. They're not
Hmm.
going to cook the meal for you. You're going to have to cook it, but they're going to tell you what to do, what to cook. They're going to give you
Sure.
the plan,
Hmm.
and it takes your thought process out of it, and they work.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's I do my own meal planning. I did seek help in meal planning to begin with, because it was something that was new to me, and I wanted to be able to do the right thing, and it helped, and it got me where I am, and it was never meant to be a full-time thing. Doing that, I wanted to get to where I could do my own, and now I've been that was for a few months, and now I've been doing it on my own ever since.
Hmm. Yeah, it's and that's the one thing I've noticed, or I fear it, because I went through it myself. Is you get when you first before you start, if you're doing all that research and you have so many different opinions, and you're watching Dr. Barry, or you get in and watch Dr. Berg, or you're watching Thomas DeLauer, or Two Crazy
Yep.
Ketos. You know, at the end of the day, they've all got the same information, but they sort of come across it a little bit different. I think,
Right.
unfortunately, I think people can get hung up on the research and they never actually,
Never implement.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I fully agree with you. And that's the thing, because if you get lost in the search,
hmm,
that's why I try to tell people and do things for them, because I can prevent you from getting lost in the search.
hmm,
But
yeah,
you know, it because it's a real possibility. I've been there,
hmm,
and but I've been called the Google King by folks that I work with and by family, because I can find things on the internet that other people can't.
Mm.
and because it's all in how you search
Right.
and what you ask,
Mm-hmm.
because you're only going to get back what you ask.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be specific.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's funny how that works on the other side too. Now that you're putting content out there, you're trying to put out content that people are going to look for, right?
exactly,
So
exactly. That is
yeah,
there. You hit the nail on the head.
yeah, yeah. Like I've found anything I put the word chaffle on these days, even though the chaffle thing isn't a new thing anymore, it's still fairly popular. So
Don't you wish you had bought you could buy stock in the Dash company?
oh my goodness, yeah. When Steve started doing all the chaffles when that first came out, then man, that guy just by himself must have sold 100,000 mini waffle
Oh,
makers.
at least, at least, at
So
least he's because he man, he's no there he. Have you ever watched Black Tie Kitchen?
I don't think so. It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if I've watched.
He did. He was doing keto. He's not necessarily going to do keto anymore, but he is going to kind of still stay in the low carb. And he and
Mm,
Steve are really good friends.
okay.
And Dennis, they have actually done some collaborations.
Mm,
And he one was where Dennis was making something, and he says, "Oh, I need something to put this on." He goes, "Oh, chaffle."
hmm
And he says, and next thing you know, you hear the phone ringing, and Steve's in the bed, and he picks up the phone, and he says, "What? Hello? Oh, hi, Dennis. Hey, dude, I need a chaffle recipe. You're the chaffle king." And he's like, "Oh man, don't call me that," you know.
Yeah, 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 for sure. It's but yeah, like I say, it's. I think it personally. I find it fun, you know, putting my story out there and doing what I can to help people. And I feel strongly that people like yourself and the rest of us that have gone through the journey.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't say that we owe it to people to bring this information to them, but I feel it would be an injustice not to at least try and help anyone we
It's some
can.
kind of something to pay it forward to
Hmm.
the next person. Yeah,
Hmm.
because otherwise you can get caught in a rabbit hole. You
Hmm.
can go down that and and you don't want to go through the looking glass on some things because it's not going to lead you anywhere but to disaster.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So,
that's why it's funny. When I first started YouTube in 2021, I started doing this same thing mostly with people I met on Instagram because I didn't know anyone on YouTube at the time. Um, but it's always been the same thing. I think my idea and hope is that conversations like this can help, you know, anyone that, has the questions that we're talking about, just a place to bring all the different stories. And sooner or later, someone's going to look at it and say, hey, well, this is what I had questions about this. And,
hmm
these are the answers. Right.
right,
So,
right, and I Tom is Tom Garvey. He's that man is a trained cook. He's a chef,
hmm.
and and I'm I just know how to cook,
Hmm.
and I'm I pale in comparison to his knowledge about cooking. He's taught me so much in cooking. It's not even funny, and
Hmm.
I I'm gonna find the way that is the most easiest to accomplish what I want,
Hmm.
where I don't have to go through the extreme efforts because the more effort you got to put into something, the less likely you're going to do it.
Hmm.
And I follow that philosophy when in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And now, um, you take like you have your way of doing the keto. Tom has his. I have mine. Ron does it
Hmm.
his way.
Hmm.
Alan, he's got a whole nother way himself. He does protein sparing, modified fast
Hmm.
stuff, and every one of us has had great success
Hmm.
doing it our way. But I'll guarantee you, all of us started out pretty much doing it the same way, and then as we became more educated in it and learned how things were, we adapted it to our lifestyle to be able to fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's key. And if folks can get that down, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little something. Uh, Keto Mama Michelle, have you heard of her?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's Alan's daughter.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
she's
I think he's mentioned that before
yeah.
on a live stream. Yeah.
Yep, he did. He mentioned it, and I knew he was from New England, but I didn't know that that they were related. I could tell that just from their interactions that they knew each other,
Mm.
but I didn't know if it was just through YouTube or personally because hey, he's from New England and she lives up there still. And then he broke it on the live stream that yeah, she's my daughter, and I'm
Oh,
like,
there you go.
oh, well,
Yeah.
she's lost a bunch of weight and she does it a whole nother way, and she can make incredible sweets that are keto,
Mm-hmm.
that are not just keto friendly, they're keto,
Right.
and she and she does it while she's holding a kid on her hip cooking,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of others helping her cook. That's the kids get involved. So,
Right.
and that's what I was getting to with saying that is get your kids in the kitchen and let them cook with you
Yeah.
because it's going to help them down the road. I
Mm-hmm.
did that with my son. My daughter had no interest in it. My son now, he's very good in the kitchen. My daughter is very good in the kitchen. They both got there, but my daughter went about it her way.
Mm-hmm.
And he got there when he was younger, and over a period of time, my daughter got there, and both of them are great cooks
Mm-hmm.
as a result. And now I did it with my grandchildren. They get in the kitchen with me when they were growing up, and now all of them they'll cook. They don't think anything about cooking. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll do it.
Sure. I think that's really important, and like me and Tom were talking about that too. Like I think one of the problems in society these days, and it's not like it's anyone's fault necessarily. It's just a lot of people don't know how to cook.
That's true.
So they rely on the fast foods and the easy garbage that you can buy, that the Kraft dinner that you can throw in a pan. And a lot of people can't take ingredients like whole food ingredients and turn them into something. So I think you're right. I think it's really important that you focus on teaching children and grandchildren, how to cook for themselves, so that in their in the years when it really matters, then they can hopefully carry that forward and not fall into the fast food trap.
Right. Which my mother, I credit her for giving me the knowledge in the kitchen, but really, I mean, she didn't say, you use a cup of this, you use a cup
Mm-hmm.
of, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. She just taught me not to be afraid in the kitchen.
Right.
Go in there. You're going to make mistakes, learn
Mm-hmm.
from them, and don't make them again.
Sure.
And that's what I try to live by. And if
Mm-hmm.
you do make a mistake, try to turn lemons into lemonade,
Mm-hmm.
So you say, okay, it didn't work out. This didn't come out like I wanted. So instead of doing this, we're going to do this with this, and it's going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important advice. Like you say, it's just try and fail. And like I don't have any training, and I just like to cook. I don't know what it is, but it's
I
especially
do too.
for making things for videos too. I really enjoy doing that. But for everything that I put out there, there's still some that don't get out there because they're a complete disaster, and you got
See,
to try again, right?
yeah, I made a video today, and I cooked up something, and I'm I haven't edited it or anything yet. And I told folks in there, I said, okay, folks, I'm winging this. I've never made this, and
Hmm.
I saw this meat in the grocery store. It's a shaved roast and or shaved beef, and I'm gonna give it a try to make this with it, and we'll see how it turns out. And if
Hmm.
it doesn't turn out, you're gonna get to see it.
Hmm.
And if it
Yeah.
does turn out, you know, you'll get to see that too, because I'm going to show you either way. I'm experimenting with this, and I saw this in the kit in the store, and my head just started thinking, and
Mm-hmm.
I came up with a recipe in my head while standing there in the store to what to do with this.
Yep. Yep. And that's way a lot of my videos are too. Like I'm not one to practice and practice and practice till it's perfect. I just think, oh, hey, this might work. Start throwing it together, and I got my phone out or my GoPro, just
Hmm.
video what I can and throw it together, and it's most of the time it works. Sometimes it doesn't. So,
Yeah, I do
but
have one thing that I'm working on, and I have been working on it for 6 months,
oh, really?
and I've not done a video on it because it's really just a thing that I decided to work on, and I said, you know, this is going to take a lot of experimenting, and folks don't want to see all of my failures because there's going to be
Hmm.
a ton of them,
Hmm.
So so
Sure.
I think I'll just keep this one working like this, and because I'm trying to make a Pop Tart
Okay.
that's
Yep.
not fathead dough,
Hmm.
and see how if I can make it happen.
Right. Yep.
And so far, I've come close. They taste good, what I've done,
Hmm.
but I get a lot of leakage.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
and
I find it all fun. Like I say, it's
exactly, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So.
And folks say, "Oh, well, I mess up." Well, I learn from every time I mess up.
Hmm.
What was it
Yeah.
Edison said when he said, "When you were inventing a light bulb, you failed 2,000 times," and he goes, "No, I just found 2,000 ways that wouldn't work for a light bulb."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
So,
Cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
oh,
So this
you
this is sorry.
go ahead. You had asked me about my name of my channel.
Hmm.
Well, I look at this as a journey.
Hmm.
What we're doing, it is a journey,
Yeah.
and I wanted to have keto in my name because that's what it's about.
Hmm.
And so I started playing with uh, the original name was just Ketorific Journey, and I
Okay.
didn't have my name on there because I didn't want to put my name out there.
Mm.
And then everybody said, "Why don't you put your name on there?" And so I did. So I changed it to that.
Right.
And then I started toying with, how you could do name searches and it'll give you a score in
Hmm.
those programs that you can attach as extensions on YouTube,
Hmm.
and it'll give you a score of how well you've done with that name. And
Right.
this one scored like 80 out of 100. This name, and I said, it came out the best one, and I said, this is it,
Yeah. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is-
And that's half the battle, right? You want to make sure that you got something unique, but something that you know might get that hit those search engines.
right,
Because when you're first starting out, being able to be found in a search is pretty tough.
right. Oh yeah. Now, if you search egg life wraps on YouTube,
Hmm.
last I checked, that shows up on the first page or like in the top scores of it, recipes with egg life wraps.
Hmm.
Tom Garvey and I have got between the two of us like last I looked, it was like 12 videos that
Cool.
are in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that ultimately that's the goal, right? Try and
Right.
but yeah, I'm still learning this part of it, so hopefully I'm getting better at it, but
Hey,
it's a goal.
yeah, and every time you think you got it learned, YouTube goes and changes it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They go tinkering with that algorithm, and I'm like, I just figured you out, just
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Okay, well,
This has been fun.
unless you have anything else to sort of add, we can wrap it up. I do
Well,
really appreciate you coming out and
it was my
giving your.
pleasure. If there's one thing that I can tell folks, or well, there's a couple of things that I would like to impart upon people.
Hmm.
Uh, One, take before photos of yourself,
Hmm.
because when you start getting discouraged, and you will, pull those photos out and look at them side by side with photos of you now. When
Hmm.
you're getting that discouraged feeling, you're going, Oh, wow. And when you start talking about how much you've lost or how and all, decide on where you're going to put the words in your sentence instead of saying, I've been doing this keto thing for a month and I've only lost 10 pounds.
Mm.
You got the emphasis on the wrong part.
Mm-hmm.
It's I've been doing this keto thing for only 1 month and I've lost 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole lot better. You didn't start this. It didn't take you overnight to put this weight on, and you are not going to take it off overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to be patient because it's not going to just fall off you like water off a duck's back. It's just not going to do it. And the other thing is, if you fall off and you have a day where you do bad, don't worry about it. Don't stress it. Just get right back on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Don't dwell on it. Don't let that one day or that one meal become 2 meals, 3 meals a week, a month. Don't let it do that. Get it on. Oh, I was bad at lunch today. That's it. I'm back on the horse.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things, and just move on because you're fine. You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. Now, and you hit on it. The first couple of months, be as strict as you can, as you can tolerate, as strict as you can tolerate. But those things right there, if folks will do that, it'll help them tremendously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's they're all things that you have to if people know that when they're going into it, I think it can really help. It's just, plain English to what is going to hopefully allow someone to succeed and not get discouraged. The whole picture thing, I didn't do enough of either.
I
But
didn't either. I wished I had.
yeah, when I did compare my one picture I took with a year later, I was like, well, like I didn't really realize how much it had changed. But it's
Yeah, and
definitely a good tool.
and take measurements. Take
Mm-hmm.
measurements.
Mm-hmm.
Take your before measurements because you're going to see inches. You'll see more inches than you will weight for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
So
cool. Well, this has been great, Mike.
it has. I've loved it. Thank you for asking me.
I'll put your YouTube link down in the description. Do you have Instagram too, or are you just mainly on
I do.
YouTube?
Same name, Ketorific Journey.
Okay. I'll look up that address or your handle there and put that in the description too. So everybody go check out Mike's channel and because there's lots of good content over there. I think we do a lot of the same stuff. So it's, and I'll be,
We're very similar. We're
yeah,
very similar.
yeah. And I'll, guess see you guys next Wednesday when, we're on the live stream with Tom and Mike. And, I'm looking forward to that when we do that. So
I'm looking forward to it too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Tom and I always have fun.